Hi, and welcome to Around the Verse, your weekly look inside the development of Star Citizen. I'm Forrest Steffen, CG Supervisor, here at Cloud Imperium with a man you might know, Game Director Chris Roberts.
Thanks, Forrest. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Last Friday was our big anniversary live stream. We tried a new approach for this year and framed it as the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, an in-fiction ship exhibition, which I thought was a really cool way to do it.
Super cool idea. So cool, in fact, that people in the forums kept asking about getting to go to that in-game. Do you think there's a chance?
Well, you never know. So you know me and in-fiction stuff, but having in-game events like this or the Murray Cup finals would be amazing ways to make the universe feel alive. So let's see long term. In the meantime, though, it gave us a chance to see some new Galactic Tour segments, which are always fun, and unveil our first Tavarian ship, the Prowler.
And the Tavaran.
And the Tavarian, although we didn't quite manage to show him on the show. We had to do it later in Twitter due to a small technical fault. But Josh Herman gave us a first look, and me and Dave Haddock and Josh sort of talked about the Tavarian. And Nathan Dersley in the UK put together an amazing segment called The Big Guns of the UEE, which showcased the capital ships. And there were 4 new dogfighting variants, as well as a preview of 2.6 Alpha with some exciting Arena Commander and Star Marine gameplay, which I think was sort of the headline of the live stream.
Yeah, that's a ton of cool stuff. We also have a big sell on physical merchandise as well, so check out the site to see what you might have missed.
Yeah, definitely. And there was one other big announcement that we did on Friday, made some news over the weekend. But you can now check out our brand new in-depth production schedule report on the RSI website. So this breaks down the current status from all the departments that are working towards the release of 2.6 Alpha. Basically, this will serve as a direct feed from our production department to let you guys know where we're at in terms of getting the build towards you. There's a lot of information there that will be updated weekly, and it's a pretty big thing. I mean, we're doing this as an experiment. Not many people do this, but I'm kind of excited about it. Sort of a lot more transparency. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone appreciates it. It's incredible. We will be talking plenty more about Star Marine later on in this episode, but first, let's now go to Brian Chambers in Frankfurt for a studio update. Take it away, Brian.
Hi everyone, I'm Brian Chambers, Development Director here at Foundry 42 Frankfurt. Since our last update here, the team's grown by another 5 people. We have 2 new environment artists, a tech animator, regular animator, and a producer. So we're taking the time to integrate them into the team, show them what they need to know, and so on to hit the ground running. Let's kick off this week by checking in with the weapons team and see what they've been doing over the last few weeks.
Hello everybody. So here's a quick update on what the weapon artists have been up to recently, starting with ship weapons. We've taken a look at all of our missiles and polished and optimized them. We've also added a bunch of new ones for 2.6. The FPS weapons team has started to work on our new manufacturer, Castak Arms, and created the first set of new concepts and white box meshes. As for FPS gadgets, David will now talk you through some of the new stuff he's been working on recently.
Many of you have seen the multi-tool in Austin's latest ATV, but today we want to take a closer look at it. The Greycat Industrial Multi-Tool is a pistol-sized power tool with modules attached to the front. In its current state, it has 2 modules. The first is a cutting module with lasers and a lens to cut through thin steel or open containers. The second one is a welding tool to quickly repair objects or patch up damage. It's also possible that we add more modules in the future with different functionality. Right now, there is no active display, but we plan to implement it before it is available for you. We also made a variety of grenades with different effects and styles. The first grenade you are able to use is the MK4 frag grenade, which will make its first appearance in Star Marine as part of the multiplayer gameplay. But when it comes to PU and later on Squadron 42, we need more variety. So we have an incendiary grenade, cluster grenade, EMP, and radar distortion. I hope you liked our new stuff, so maybe leave a comment, and see you next time.
Thanks, guys. The level design team, last few weeks, they've been continuing to work on the modularity system and surface outposts that we showed a few weeks ago. They're also working on a handful of space stations, all focused towards 3.0. When they work with the space stations, they're primarily working with white box and gray box, while the UK art team in tandem dials in the visuals. System design team has been focusing on usables and character actions for both player and AI, how they interact with the world and the objects and all the details around that. They've also been working on a takeoff and landing system for ships, and that's both from platforms and from other ships. So a ship taking off and going in and out of another ship. The environment team has grown by a few people, as I previously mentioned. They're primarily focused on expanding the existing ecosystems that we've shown you, as well as creating new ones, all to be used with a direction of 3.0. They work extremely close with the engine team on a daily basis. They iterate both on the tech side and the art side, back and forth, until we get the visuals where we need them to be. For AI, the team's been working hard, advancements in subsumption system, additional behaviors, as well as pushing combat a little bit further. We hope to have something to show you for our next update from Frankfurt. So that's it from the team here. Thanks for the time for watching, and goodbye.
Thanks, Brian. Those weapons are looking pretty nice, huh?
Yeah, no, they're looking really good. I also like the paw. Some of the grenades are looking good. And
Super cool.
Concept stuff for car stack. Also, having expanded ecosystems is really going to help a variety of potential environments. And once we start populating with those modular sort of outposts and other stuff that we do, it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. If you're interested in reading more about PlanetSide, there's an in-depth article about the making of Homestead demo in last Friday's Jump Point. So subscribers, go download it if you haven't already. I've read it. It's awesome. Go check it out.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of work everyone put together in that. We're quite proud of what we showed off, and I think it's going to make a great thing. So also, we should check in with our incredible community. So let's go to our community manager, Tyler Whitkin in Austin.
Hey everyone, Tyler Whitkin, Community Manager in the Austin, Texas studio, here to bring you this week's Community Update. We hope you enjoyed the anniversary live stream. We were super excited to see bar citizen viewing parties around the globe. A handful in the States, Canada, France, Sweden, and more. And we want to see pictures from your events. So make sure to tag us on social media or add the hashtag Aerospace Expo so we can check them out. Now, just as a reminder, the anniversary sale is still going on with different themed sales daily. So check back every day at robertspaceindustries.com to see what goodies are available leading up to the grand finale. And now it's time for this week's MVP Award. A huge congratulations to Xeron for his extraordinary efforts in creating a Star Citizen fan cinematic, Vengeance of the Damned. This actually involved 83 different citizens, and if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to check it out for yourself on our Community Hub. Lastly, the week would not be complete without Reverse the Verse, so make sure to tune in live tomorrow at twitch.tv/SIGcommunity at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we're going to be talking about everything that you saw on today's episode. Thanks again for all the support, and we'll see you in the verse.
The Intergalactic Aerospace Expo is going on the rest of the week, so you can check that out on the website for details on the daily ship sales. We'll also have a new Galactic Tour segment each and every single day.
Yeah, no, they're fun. I'm always watching that to see what Easter eggs Hannes has put in there. So, you know, there's a bunch of people that contributed to pull that together sort of last minute. It was sort of a last minute kind of idea.
So
and
cool.
It pulled out, it came together really good. I think it's been adding a lot of flavor to the expo.
I agree. So up next, we talk to team members from around the globe to learn more about the long road to bring Star Marine to life.
Yes, the long road.
long
And it's
road.
only just getting born, and it's still going to have to grow a bunch when it gets up.
Hi, I'm Todd Pappy, Design Director here at CIG. Today I want to talk to you about Star Marine and kind of the iterations that it's gone through from Ilphonic to even our current team. So what you've seen before with Ilphonic, and then when it was handed over to our current team, there was a lot of adjustments, a lot of breakdown of basic fundamental features so that we can use those as building blocks when we go forward with our tech as well as with Persistent Universe. So when we started looking at Star Marine, it was always meant to basically be a precursor to the Persistent Universe and use this as a building block. Now, what we did was we kind of did a little bit backwards, where what you see in Alpha 2.0, 2.1, even through 2.5 is a very basic combat and navigation for Star Marine. So in 2.6, what we've done is we built that up a lot more. We've added vault, mantle, cover, as well as grenades and melee, just to name a few features to actually build what our combat is going to be. And then from there, in the future, we'll be adding other new features like gadgets, as well as breathing stamina system. And this will give us a fully fleshed out combat first-person experience.
Animation-wise in Star Marine, there's a whole lot of things that go into it. You have your character animation, which would be, say, your body animation of your character running around. You have your facial animation, so perhaps the character breathes or makes some sort of expression when he shoots. You have procedural animation, so we're holding the weapon and we're firing, and that recoil that is happening is procedural. And then as the hands squeeze on the trigger and squeeze on the weapon, that's another character animation, but a partial body character animation that plays on top of that. The first step is that we sit down with the designers and sort of figure out what is the intent of this particular behavior or gameplay that we're doing, and we create a state machine for that, which tells us if we go from, say, an idle stance and we start to move, and then we need to jump, or we're going to vault or melee, how those things connect. Then once we understand how they connect, in the case of larger actions, say a stealth kill or running, we'll go and we'll shoot motion capture, and we'll grab the motion capture of those actors, we'll bring them into Motion Builder and into Maya, and we'll work on those animations to get them to be technically correct for the game. We'll play them then in the product and see how they feel, and we'll make adjustments within Maya or Motion Builder or something like this to try and really bear down on the quality that we're looking for the game. In the case of things like, say, reload animations, because it's important in the first-person view for us to see the weapon reloading, but we also have a tied first-person and third-person view. We can't really motion capture those reloads fully. We have to do a lot of hand animation on those to make sure that they look good in third person and in first person. So depending upon what the asset will give us a different track that we go on. Either we do it with mocap or we do it with keyframe.
So as a lead programmer, I manage a team, and our work is mainly player related. So for Star Marine, it's been a big advantage for us that we've been able to look at specifically the core FPS gameplay without this big PU backdrop. But with any features we do, we always want to think about how they go into the PU. We don't want to put a feature in just because it's easy to do it in Star Marine, and then 3 or 4 months later find out that that's 1 or 2 years worth of work to get it into PU. We want these pieces to fit into the final game.
Alpha 2.0 back at the end of last year, and we've slowly been iterating on the features for that. So we have 2 different throw modes with the grenades in Star Marine. You can do underhand rolls or overhand throws or lobs, and currently that's selectable depending on the view angle, whether you're looking above the center line of the screen or below the center line of the screen. And we can adjust that quite easily on dev side, but we're going to look to expose that to be a more user customizable preference. So currently it's set at a fraction of under the center of the screen to decide between if you're beneath that, then do a roll. If you're above that, do a throw. So we're going to see whether that's something we'll let users customize, because obviously not everyone wants to do it like that, or whether we can expose that out into two different throw modes. And it's one system, so it's not just grenades, it'll be for gadgets or any throwable object. You can also cook or prime grenades, so you just literally hold down the key to do that. Depending on how long you hold it for is how long it cooks for. Obviously let go before the timer runs out. You have some audio and UI feedback for that. Just remember that the grenades have quite a big radius on them, so if you hold it down for too long and then don't let go soon enough, you will get caught in the blast radius. We use DataForge to tweak all the parameters for grenades, so the throw speed, their mass, the angle you throw them at, the rotation that they throw. So we can have different rotational values for overhand and underhand throws. So underhand ones we want to roll more on one axis than the other, so they roll along the floor more. Overhands sort of go end over end, so they hit and bounce rather than hit the ground and just slide. Try something, doesn't work, go into DataForge, move a slider around, type a new value in, save that out, jump back in game, and you've got the new values there, so it's very quick to iterate. Star Marine is a sort of simulation of FPS combat inside the game. So it's like we have Arena Commander as a simulation of the dogfighting. Functionally, it's the same between Arena Commander and Star Marine and the PU. So what you're learning in both of them is directly applicable to the PU. So it's not like we're giving you easy mode for how ships handle or how the weapons handle. It's the same. So you're not wasting your time doing one and then you suddenly get ruined going straight into the PU. It's good to learn. And Star Marine is obviously the FPS side of it, whereas Arena Commander is the ships.
If you look at Arena Commander, for example, the Arena Commander is an amazing tool for the ship team to balance how the ships work, how they feel, how they play against each other. With Crusader, having FPS in Crusader has been great for initial feedback, but it doesn't have the competitive edge because you always start out in a green zone. You might have a lot of people that aren't interested in that aspect of the game. Whereas with Star Marine, you're not going to jump into a game if you don't want to run around and shoot at people. So it's going to be amazing to see what we can get out of that.
So now we're going to give you a little bit more of a deeper dive on how we go about building levels as well as game modes for Star Marine. With that, when Chris Roberts starts talking about FPS experiences and everything like that, he doesn't want it to be a kind of a traditional open FPS world.
At the moment, we started off by using it as just a large 3D space, like 6 degrees of freedom and just shooting. But that's not as interesting if there's nothing there, so we need to kind of build things around it. Multiplayer level design is an iterative process. You start with an idea, and that can come from either concept art or just the idea for a scenario, or potentially a top-down sketch. I prefer to work with rough 3D shapes, which I can then flesh out into the basics of a white box. So when the white box is play-tested, it requires a lot of iteration. It requires perfecting the sight lines, timing the choke points, and maintaining metrics. A white box's primary intention is to minimize rework later on, whilst getting the balance and fun in the game as soon as possible. Parallel to the initial playtests, art and narrative are also working. They're planning their treatment of the locations and spaces, and they are very much informed by the white box, but they do bring their own ideas from their own pool. There's a lot of back and forth with art when maintaining metrics. There's always the desire to make things look visually appealing, but we always need to make sure that the mechanics will still work well with that. So that's judging heights of crates and mantling points and distances between doorways and keeping routes clear. As testing progresses, art are able to flesh out areas that have become a little more set in stone. And over time, the map changes from a textureless shell to a more believable and aesthetically pleasing location.
What we wanted to do for this release of Star Marine is focus on 2 maps. This is a mood board that we created for one of the maps. It gives Chris a good high-level overview of the visual stance that was going to do for the level. This is one of the visual feedback sheets that we do for the guys. So it's basically me screenshotting the level after it's been in production for a little while and kind of giving more specific feedback. Everything from base form reads of the level, how it's flowing, mood and character that we want to start adding into the scene. This is an example of one of the concept art pieces we've done for one of the maps. Once the designer white box has been verified and signed off, then we'll take it into concept to see where we want to visually push the scene. This is a good chance for us to explore where we want to take it, play with the moods, play with the lighting, play with the dressing, to see what will work before we take it into full production. Once we got something we're happy with, then the environment team will take it and try and recreate that as the best they can and treat that area as a visual target. And then once it's in production, we kind of see how well it's working and then expand those visual elements out across the rest of the environment. This is an early example of what I call a visual feedback sheet for the guys. So once the level's taken to about 80-90%, I'll give them a final paint to where we want to take the level, just that last 10%, that last bit of polish. Usually involves things like material read, lighting, VFX, just so we get that final view. What's quite interesting is usually when you make an FPS map, it's usually, traditionally, it's like a stripped down version of like the campaign level. So it's usually a little bit lighter, a little bit cheaper to run because you've got a lot of characters. But for us, what we wanted to do is almost the opposite. We wanted to make a hero location for specifically for FPS, right? So hopefully what the players are going to see is a lot more considered time, a lot more considered visually, so they can get, I'm hoping, a good experience.
So we have 2 Marines and we have 2 Slavers, a medium and a light of each one. In fact, we're using the same assets that we're using in Squadron 42 and same ones that we're using in the persistent universe. So the Marines that you are going to see here in Star Marine are actually the first time that you're going to see these Marines. And we're eventually going to be putting them into the persistent universe as well. The things that we use mostly for the Marines are going to be more kind of industrial, heavier, bulkier suits, but also trying to tie that into a bit of a slicker, streamlined feel, so that they can feel powerful yet streamlined.
Making an FPS and indeed making Star Citizen is an enormous undertaking, and it doesn't all happen at once. So as you guys are out there playing Star Marine, we want to know your feedback, both the good and the bad, right? What do you like the recoil speeds? How do you feel about this melee? What do you use this cover system functionality? Do you not use this cover system functionality? Because this is a big community-backed product, and we can't do it without the community. And it's a partnership between the game we're making and the game that they're helping us create.
Well, there you go. There's a lot of people that have been working on all the various elements of Star Marine. There's still quite a lot of stuff that will go, but while we have FPS currently available in the PU Alpha at Korea and Grim Hex, it's a time-consuming process if you want to practice your FPS skills.
Yes, it is. No matter how much I practice, I keep getting sniped on the landing platform, then have to go all the way back to LSR, which I'm sure you have nothing. You don't know anything about that, right?
Not at all. So anyway, getting Star Marine out in 2.6 will allow testers to hammer a bit more easily on the mechanics and provide us with some valuable feedback. What we learn from its development will translate directly into Squadron 42 and the PU, and so I think that's a really good way to approach things, and people should realize that it's much like with Arena Commander, we're getting it out
Absolutely.
there, and we will constantly be working and improving it and iterating based on everyone's feedback, so please participate.
Yeah, most definitely. And of course, while we're all eagerly waiting on the release of 2.6, there is a lot for players to do right now in the 2.5 patch. Missions and combat in the PU, shopping and dancing in ArtCorp.
Always dancing. And there's also Arena Commander with Battle Royale, Vandal Swarm, and Murray Cup Racing, all available to play and test. So any feedback or bugs you find while testing should be reported to the forums and the issue council, and that stuff's really helpful. I think it's one of the sort of, I don't know, superpowers of our game and community is we have this sort of symbiotic relationship in a lot of different ways.
As a developer, it's such useful information.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it for today. As always, we'd like to thank our generous subscribers who make the extra contributions that allow us to make this video content.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. And also a big thank you to all our backers and supporters, without whom we wouldn't be here in the first place. Right. So, you know, big help out from the entire team from around the world to you guys. Thank you so much. And make sure to tune in tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific time for Reverse the Verse with Brian Chambers from Frankfurt to talk a little bit more about what was shown today.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
So until then, we'll see you around the verse.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.